Hi YouTube, welcome back to Wtf Rc Cars. We've got a look at the classic Hobbywing, and this is the 1080. This is the original version that comes with the programmer, and it's for crawlers and other RCs where you just want a bit more of a functional ESC, bit more programmable, few more options. And again, big shout out to Dave and the crew at RD Models at Chesterfield, and there will be a link in the description below. But let's bring you in and take a look at what you actually get with these things. So let's have a look what we get in box. So these are available, or were available, not sure if they still are because the G2's out now, but these come with the plug pre-assembled. And you can get these with the XT60s or the Dean's connector. You've got the power and programming button. You've got your normal connection to your receiver. Then you've got your positive and negative motor wires, and they're both marked on the ESC. And you have to either solder these directly or fit plugs. Also in the box, you get the programming cable, so that's the one that goes on there, and then you plug it into the program box. Now these programming boxes will also work with other ESCs, and basically all you have to do, if you've got an ESC like the 1080 where it can provide its own BEC power, you just have it disconnected and you just power up from a battery, and that'll let us get into as programming. You also get the instruction manual. I'll try and put you a picture of this up on the screen, but it basically shows you how to connect the motor up, how to calibrate your ESC, and then you've got a very useful table showing you what the stock settings are, and then an explanation of all the actual settings. You also have a guide on how you set up the programming using the button if you don't have your programmer, but it also tells you where to connect your ESC. Gives you a brief explanation of what the buttons do, but as basic specs are 80 amp 400 amp boost or peak. It'll run on brushed motors, 540, 550 and 775 size motors. Application 1/10 rock crawler, but it's also really useful in the Tamiya cars. Brush motor limit with a 2S LiPo or a 6-cell NIM is greater than 10 turn, and if you're using, and this is on a 540 or a 550 motor, if you're using 3S LiPos you can go to a 16 turn. Battery compatibility is 2S 3S LiPo or 6 to 9 cell NIM. Your BEC output 6 volt, or you can actually have it to 7.4 and it's at 3 amp, and we've got a separate programming port. So in the box you get a couple of tie wraps or zip ties, you get a couple of pieces of heat shrink and 2 little sticky pads, one for the ESC and one for the power switch, and then you get the quite nice Hobbywing stickers. So let's get some power to this thing and see if we can take you through what you need to do with programming. So setting it up for programming, you want the cable in that side of your of your programming card. You've also got a really useful guide on the front and back to tell you what everything does. So it tells you to have it disconnected from the receiver for this. So it tells you to plug in your programming card, disconnect your receiver, and then supply power. Now once you've got the power going to it, let's see if I can make this a little easier for you to see. So once we've got his power connected, you just need to power on your ESC. Will take a few seconds, and then basically you've got this one that jumps you through your different menus, so you can see your item menu, so you can go through all your menus. So if we go to menu 1, which is running mode, so at the minute it's on forward and reverse, so I want this to be forward, reverse and brake, so I need to change it to number 2. So we change this value to 2, press OK, that'll program it. Then battery, LiPo and NIM. So LiPo is the first one I've got it set on. So that's the default for this. If we then drop down to voltage cutoff, we can see that's on 3, which is mid. So that should be fine. Go to number 4, initially. So this is initial start force. So this is on 3. So we'll leave it on that to start with. Number 4, we've got set at 4. So that's maximum forward, which is 100%. If we then go to his next menu, which is 6. So initially this is maximum reverse force, it's set at 50%. So that should be fine. Number 7 is initial maximum brake force, so it's set on 100. I would advise leaving it set to that because you can always back your endpoint down with your transmitter. Number 8, we have initial brake force is set to 0. Number 9 is as drag brake, and that's initially set to 100%. So for me, I'm going to change that to 0 and press OK. Number 10, that is set to level 4, and that is your drag brake rate. If we go to number 11, that's as neutral zone. It's set to level 4, that's standard. Number 12 is the start or punch level, and it's set to a midpoint, which is 5. Number 13, we have PWM frequency. Now, the lower you set this, the more aggressive the throttle will initially feel. But the higher you set it, the smoother it'll feel, but it'll also cause the ESC to produce more heat. So at the minute we set on level 4, which I believe is 8K. So I'm going to try it at that, because I'm going to want to be using this in a touring car, so I'm going to try it at that, see, keep an eye on the temps of the speed controller. Number 14 is your BEC, which is set to 6 volt. I'm going to leave it at that because I'm running it 2S, so I'm going to want consistency. If you set it to 7.4 and you're only running 2S, your servo is going to get slower as the battery depletes. And then freewheeling, which is set to disabled. So I'm going to want to change this. So set that to enabled. That will allow your car to coast. And then we're back to the initial setting. And I think actually the car I'm going to put this in, I'm going to change that to 3. So it's just forward and brake. No, I get that right in the end. Setting 1 is forward and brake. Setting 3 is forward and reverse. So that's just a quick explanation of how you set this up and what the actual settings do. So let's wrap this one up. So there you have it. Quick explanation of what the actual settings are for and how you control these and how you save them. And these, I can understand why it's such a popular speed controller. For crawlers it's fantastic, the price is brilliant on them, and the fact that they actually came with a programmer. It's not impossible to program with the buttons, but it's a bit more faffing about. And lastly, you just turn your ESC off, disconnect it, turn it back on. And the one thing I would advise you to do is calibrate your speed controller. So to do that, you just turn it on with the button held down, press your power button, and then you'll see the light flash. You just press the button, that'll set you neutral. Full throttle, press your button again, and then full brake, press your button again, and then it's calibrated. I will run through that when I fit this in an RC. But yeah, quite a nice little controller. Not sure why they got away with the little clip where you used to be able to clip the power button to the side of the ESC, because they're a nice small footprint ESC, these. Very easy to fit in most RCs, and you don't really need to run a fan on them. You could fit a fan near them, but you don't really need to. But yeah, hopefully you find that useful or entertaining. But thanks again for watching WTF RC Cars. Don't forget to like and subscribe, share to friends and family, and catch you guys again in the next one.